Hey, there he is.
All right. Hey, Dale. How you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, doing good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the profound honor today of getting to speak with Kevin Wilson, owner and founder of CASWELL Boot Company. So, CASWELL Bootmakers is a DC-based premium shoe brand that specializes in mixing modern, unique leathers with traditional craftsmanship. Caswell's approach to menswear focuses on sourcing leathers and soles from some of the most trusted names in the industry, such as Horween and Charles F. Stead. Caswell prides themselves on attention to detail, and they have carefully built each pair in their collection to provide timeless designs that are durable and built to last. So, with that said, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on with me today, my friend. It is an honor to have you on. So, to get started, why don't we talk a little bit about what brought you to start your own boot brand?
No, definitely. And Dale, thank you for having me on. Actually, it's a pleasure. I know we had a great conversation the other day, and it's glad to kind of get a chance to kind of hear your story, hear your passion, and so kind of share some of those similar stories. So thank
Absolutely.
you. But yeah, no. So to backtrack about why I kind of started the brand. So originally, I've always been a shoe and boot enthusiast, and so kind of over time, that passion kind of grew. Always been an avid collector. I do have two pairs that I want to show you a little bit later. So two of my favorite pairs. So kind of grew from that. I've always been a joiner of all group made to orders, doing a lot of MTOs cross style form over the years. And so always being really obsessed with looking at swatches, picking different leathers, picking different stitching options, picking different sole options. And so from that, I kind of grew into the sense that, hey, maybe I should try my own thing because it's something I'm very passionate about. And so I kind of took that and ran with it over the years.
Excellent. That's very inspiring to hear because I've been into menswear as long as I can remember myself. And I remember, getting into my first pair of Aldens, it was like life changing. Like, whoa, this is stepping it up a next level in the shoe game. And then the collection starts growing. And then, yeah, you took it even a step further, which is to say, hey, why don't I start building this stuff? So, what was
Yeah.
that like when you decided to start doing it? So, I guess you have experience in the industry already, like in terms of like marketing, is that right? And forming business relations, or Caswell Boots is not your primary day job. You also have another job that you do full time, right?
Yeah, so in my professional, without getting into too many details, in my daytime professional job, I do product consulting for a couple big companies across a couple different industries, but it is completely different from a different experience from shoes and boots and all that stuff. Whole different market, whole different set of issues, and a whole different supply chain. So I'm just kind of learning that I didn't have experience in that originally, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's something I kind of had to learn myself and kind of grow over time.
That makes sense. Yeah, baby steps. Because yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, like if I was going to start building my own line, I wouldn't even know where to start. I know talking to Christian Daniel, he literally just flew to Mexico, didn't know what he was doing, just started meeting people, started talking to people, and he found a workshop that would build his
Yeah.
boots. And so now I'm actually having them do a prototype of one of my bags to see if I could like
Oh,
do a
great.
stock run through that workshop in Mexico. So I'm excited about that. And Christian Daniel is also a friend of yours too, so that's really
Definitely.
cool that he sort of brought us together. When you messaged me, I started looking over your Instagram. I noticed, not to get too off topic, but I noticed Shoegazing blog has a pair of your service boots in oiled shoulder from Charles F. Stead. And this is,
Yeah, yeah. So that was the original. That was one of the pairs that I originally had in the Kickstarter campaign. Now I'll get into that a little bit later as well.
oh,
But yeah, that was one of the boots that we're gonna make here in the United States at the time. So
oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, that one was a really great pair. It came out
Yeah.
really well. I used different lasts at that time, a
Okay.
more wider last than I currently have now.
I love that classic shoulder. And so your new last is a little bit more slim then, because I have these chocolate glazed shrunken bison boots of
Yeah,
course right here. So
yeah. So yeah, so the new last is a little bit more refined. When I did the Kickstarter campaign, there were a couple things that I feel like didn't really resonate with a lot of people. And so what I wanted to do was kind of slim it down. And I feel like this kind of look in this profile gives it a little bit more of a cleaner look, because a lot of American lasts are going to be a little bit wider, have a little bit more volume within a toe box. And so I wanted to keep some of those same elements, but slim it down and just make it have that appeal that you see in a lot of the photos.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I would say mission accomplished there. It's a very well balanced last. Beautiful, beautiful. It's almond-esque without going too much into the pointiness. But then at the same time, yeah, it's sleek, but it's also not too narrow. It doesn't have the narrowness of like a lot of Italian and Spanish shoes that hurt my feet. Like, these are very comfortable. And for sizing considerations, I know that's when people are considering a new brand, that's always the first question.
Definitely.
I told Kevin my size was 8.5, and he actually brought me these in a size 9 to try, and he also brought the cattail grizzly in 8.5. I could tell immediately that these boots run true to size. This is a 9. I wore them all day yesterday, and they are phenomenal. So I'm typically an 8.5 in like Grant Stone, Alden, Nick's Whites, and Parkhurst, and other brands like that. And I definitely think that true to size is the way to go. When I handled the 8.5s, they did just seem like they would have been a little small. I could have gotten my foot in there, obviously, but I would have had to wear super thin socks. So I'm very happy with the true to size there. Not to mention, we've got sort of a low toe profile here, a collapsed toe. So that will reduce the volume in the vamp. It's a beautiful boot. I absolutely loved it. They're stunning. They're seriously stunning when I wore them. Just so comfortable.
Sorry, I just also want to note some of the with the smaller sizes, some of those thicker leathers, they're going to be a little bit more tight, but they loosen up over time. Like Grizzly Cattail, the Bison leather, those are just really thick, durable outdoor leathers. And so that's kind of why I picked them. I wanted something that's going to be great to where you can kind of either wear it if you're going out, or also if you want to just take them out. The Vibram soles are very sturdy, so you can wear those on a hiking trip if you like. The construction's very solid. It's as solid as I can get it. Those leathers really pair well for any situation.
Yeah, definitely. And also, when I handled your boots for the first time, I was blown away because I never saw a Vibram version of the Ridgeway before. So these are Parkhurst on their Ridgeway, and this is the Vibram version of that. It's similar. It feels almost the same on foot, but I really enjoyed walking in these. These are incredible soles. Some of the grippiest soles I have, honestly, because of the ridges in these grooves. You would think a commando sole would have more grip, but actually I find that these ridges are actually very, very grippy. Like if I'm walking on rocks and stuff, like they hold me in place. And same with when I'm going down the steps. I find that they really lock me in place, balanced when I'm going down steps. You're not going to slip in these.
Definitely, yeah. The Ridgeway sole, I couldn't get the original Ridgeway sole. It was sold out, from the manufacturer, the supplier. So I tried, and essentially what would happen is if I was to wait, as with a lot of these things, you realize that if you wait too long, they were telling me, hey, we can get to you in January, and January is not going to work for me. So I had to figure out a way to kind of make this happen. So that was the next best thing. They're great soles. More so slight change from the traditional Ridgeway, which has the same construction for the most part. So I think they pair really well. I do prefer these over the Dynite soles, just a standard Dynite that you see I do have them actually in my Chukka boot, but I do prefer these soles.
Yeah, Day-Nite's good, but yeah, I think there's so many boots built on Day-Nite these days. It's nice to get something different. It's not a make it or break it deal for me, but it's a nice departure from the norm. I was really fascinated to hear about how you named your company CASWELL. Why don't you talk a little bit about the choice of the name CASWELL for your boot brand, CASWELL Bootmakers?
Definitely. Yeah. So one, choosing the name brand for a brand is extremely difficult. You're going to go back and forth multiple times. You're never going to find the perfect name. But basically what I did was I looked, WESN Bootmakers was already taken. And so what I wanted to do is actually a lot of my family's from the southern border of Virginia, northern border of North Carolina, Danville, Kearneysville, South Boston, all that area. And that interconnection is CASWELL County. And so it pays homage to just where my family's from in the South. So I thought it made sense. It was a good brand that I can kind of, if I wanted to venture off into other products, that's something I could actually use. And actually also had my small leathers goods brand, Wilson and Crew. Just pairing it with those two, I thought it made sense at the time.
Definitely. And as I was like sort of saying the name Caswell in my head, it sort of, I think it's kind of a brilliant name because it sounds like casual. So it's kind of like an innuendo into the term casual, like you could wear these casually.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But Caswell, it's like, because calling it casual obviously on its face would sound kind of corny, but Caswell, I mean, it's a name from like the town where you're from. It sort of marries up with a boot brand name very well. I think it blends itself into a fashion term very, very seamlessly, I think. So
Definitely, that's something I was definitely trying to go for. I wanted it to be something that's, so when you hear a lot of the brands and they pick them perfectly, like when you hear Carmina or you hear Merriman or you hear, a lot of Alden, those storied brand names, you
yeah,
always wonder like, how did they come up with that name?
yes,
And I'm pretty sure that, take for example, Merriman, I'm pretty sure that wasn't their first name brand that they wanted to go with. It just kind of resonated with them and they did a lot of, did a lot of thinking on it. And then it just kind of clicked. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do with Caswell as well. It's just make it something that's very simple to say. That's an easy kind of reference. Like when you hear the name, it's different. And so you just automatically get an envisionment of the boots. So that's kind of what I was going for. I don't feel like I'm fully there yet because it's a newer brand, but hopefully in the future we will get there. So
yeah, definitely. And you're so right. There is so much in a name. It's because it's a living thing, right? And there's so much packed into the symbol and the logos of a name. And I think it's a really strong name, Caswell. I think it's a strong name, but it also is sophisticated sounding. It's elegant. I think it's a really good word for a boot brand. I really like it.
thank
So
you.
yeah, definitely. Kind of like with Grant Stone.
Yeah, it's a strong name.
Yeah, it's a good name. Yeah, absolutely. I just have to commend you on the name there. I think it's a strong name for a boot brand for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of names, so you have currently 3 models on your website. You have the Lisbon, which is your plain toe model, which is what these are. Um,
Yes,
yeah, and then you have the Wilson, which is, from what I could tell, your cat toe,
correct. Yep.
and then your Chukka. I'm gonna not pronounce this correctly. The
The
coin.
Congria, yeah. So 3 models. So the Lisbon is going to be all of our service boots. That's going to feature the widest range of leathers that we currently have. So you're going to see. Now I don't actually talk about when some of the other options are going to be available in the near future.
Yeah.
And then you have all of our jumper boots are going to be the Wilson boot, which is mainly going to be our country calf, and then our Horween Brown Chrome XL, and then you have the Cumbria. We have one Chukka boot, it's on the Dynite sole, and that is in brown calf. So
Okay. Awesome. Out of curiosity, what made you pick the term Lisbon for the service boot?
yeah, so actually, have you ever seen, it was the Netflix show La Casa de Papel? And
Okay.
so I was actually always a big fan of that show. And so I actually changed the model name to Lisbon. It was a code name in the show. So a lot of my brand names are like innuendos to different movies or different characters over the years that I've been passionate about. People always wonder like how people come up with these names.
Yeah.
That's something that I always kind of went to. And also cities within the world. I also like to name a lot of my models and lasts with different cities that definitely am interested in visiting and things of that nature. So it's very difficult to try and come up with a name, and I'm horrible at it. But I feel like if I go with a name that I've actually like enjoyed a character or enjoyed a city, it makes sense. And so that's kind of how I named it. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. No, that's really cool because yeah, when I thought of Lisbon, I thought of Lisbon, Portugal, but I wasn't sure. And so yeah, Casa de Papel. I never watched that show.
It's a great show. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a really great show. It's on. I believe it's still on Netflix.
Okay.
Couple series, but definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. And then so the your Wilson model, I assume is named after is your last name, right?
Correct.
Okay. And
Yep.
more your cap toe jumper model. Um,
Correct.
and then the Cumbria, where'd you get that name from?
So that's actually a city. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a city. So in my originally how I was naming models was based off of different cities, and so I did kind of that. Some of them will be named cities, so it's either going to be either cities or it's going to be a character from a movie that I really enjoyed watching. So
Very cool. And yeah, I'm just looking at your selection right now. I mean, you're making all the right choices for leathers. You got black chrome excel, brown calfskin, waxy commander, dark brown country calf. You got the chocolate glazed shrunken bison, which that's currently my favorite. And then you also have the cattail grizzly, which I believe cattail grizzly is a Seidel leather, if I'm not mistaken.
correct, correct. Yeah, so I can run through all the leathers. So and where I got that. Yeah, so pretty much all the leathers on the site. I try to go as far and wide as I could to try to find different textures. I'm a big fan of the rugged grained leather. So as you'll
Okay.
see now and then in the future, you're going to see a lot more grainier options, a lot more styles you can kind of take out and wear that have a lot of character to them. And so all of the leather currently on the site is either from Cedo Tanning, also Maverick Leather, Horween, CF Steed, and then also those major tanneries or companies. And then the only one I don't have on the site is
Yeah.
the oiled shoulder, the caramel oiled shoulder. Didn't place them on the site yet because I did change up some of the stitching. So it's going to feature a white stitching. So it's going to be very similar to that original boot that you were able to show earlier in the video. So it's going to look very, very similar to that. I wanted to kind of stay true to that because that was my first original model that I created for the brand. So I wanted to kind of go back to those same roots. And so it's going to look just like that, but with a different last. It's going to have slightly different construction. That's the goal.
Okay, very cool. I really love this leather that you've picked so far. Seriously, like you've picked solid staple, great. They're packed full of character. They're not boring at all. And if they are a little bit more like sophisticated, sleek, less surface texture, less surface character, then they're gonna be for the purpose of being like more refined and everything, like your calf skin. Yeah, I have a swatch of this cattail grizzly here. I don't know how well it's gonna come through
It's a
on the
great
camera.
leather. To be honest with you, it's actually one of my favorites. It actually looks very similar to the on a swatch. A lot of the leathers look very similar, but once you actually stretch it over the last, then you start to see the character, start to see the pull up, and start to see how it really will show up on a boot. And it actually looks beautiful once you put it on a boot. It has those reddish tones in it, and especially when you get out in the sun, you can tell it really pops. So that's definitely a leather that I'll be using in the future. So I was glad I was able to get some so I could put it in one of our current models.
Yeah, definitely. I was really impressed to see the cattail grizzly. That stuff is just beautiful. So talk to me a little bit about your last. So you mentioned to me when we met that you actually took a lot of time to design this.
The Wayne last, yeah.
Mm,
So
okay, Wayne last. That's right.
So when you're making a last, you want to stay true to the sizing constraints of like a standard. Like you don't want to go out of bounds of what like a standard dimensions on an 11 would be, because then the
Yeah.
shoe wouldn't fit. But you kind of want to taper some things, change and step up a little bit. I have extremely flat feet, so I can't go with a high instep in a boot.
Okay.
So I want it to be kind of a normal instep. And so you kind of make it to what you envision a great boot would look like. And
Mhm.
so you'll see the slimmer profile. There's a lot of more space in the toe. It's not too narrow through the midfoot. And you have a decent amount of space in the heel. So that was the goal that I went for both of those lasts. This last is going to be a little bit more wider than the Wayne last, which is going to be on a lot of our jumper boots. They're still close to the same volume. I would say there's more toe space in the last with all of our service boots, but sizing is generally the same. It's
Yeah.
just that there's slightly more toe space in the service boots.
Okay, I gotcha. So you have the Wayne last, and then okay, on your jumper boots, I see it's called the Alder last.
Yes, correct.
That Scotch grain is incredible looking on your on your jumper boot. Wow. So,
And both feature a D width. So it is not an E width. I just want to be very clear for people because I know some people need a little bit wider of a boot, but it features a standard D width. There
mhm,
is a decent amount of volume there, but I would say if you do wear an E width, I don't
mhm.
think that these, the current models that I have would be the best fit for you. I don't want to put people in something that they can't fit. So just
Yeah.
want to state that there. I do have E width models coming in the near future, but for right now, everything is a standard D. So if you are in E, I don't feel like there would be a great fit at this time. So
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, if that's the case, if you are an E like me, just go true to size and it'll be fine, you know?
yeah, definitely. Yes, some people do generally fit in E, but they teeter around that D and E width. So there is a little bit more volume. But if like you're a true, like if you wear an Allen Edmonds on the, I believe it's a 9.5 last. If you wear an Allen Edmonds 12 EE,
Mhm.
these boots aren't going to fit, you know? So
Yeah.
that's just, the nature of the beast. I do have some E width boots that feel like D. It's just if you have a really wide foot, I just want to just caution that, it may not, the D width may not be the best fit for you at this time. So
Right, definitely. That makes sense. Are there any upcoming makeups that you wanted to tease at this time that are in the work that you have in the works?
every now and again, I do actually put in pictures of some of the prototypes that I have. So I do have a Horween Whiskey Predator
Mhm.
coming out. It's going to be, I'm still trying to determine which last I want to put it on.
Mhm.
This design is going to be, I would say, not significantly different, but you're going to see some changes in the stitching. It's going to
Mhm.
have a little bit more designs that the stitching's going to be slightly different. It's going to have some slight pattern changes in there. So I think it's going to pair really well with the boot. So
Yeah.
more to come on that. And then I do also have an unlined boot coming in the near future as well. So those two, and then I may bring one loafer in the summer. But for right now, my primary focus is on making sure that the core models that I have just resonate with people. Because, I feel like when you first start off with a brand, you have to have a set of core models that are going to be your base models. As you see with a lot of brands, how they start is they have those base models, they restock those, and then they kind of dive off with the different, get a little bit more crazier. So that's the goal. I didn't want to come out the gate too crazy, and it's either a hit or a miss. So I wanted to kind of stick to the basics a little bit
Yeah.
and come out with something that had great leathers, great construction, that can kind of get the name out there for the brand and kind of run with that.
That's very smart. Yeah, I remember for the longest time, Grant Stone, they ran their diesel. They just had their diesel
Definitely.
in like 3 or 4 colors, and then they branched into the Ottawa boot, which is their Norwegian split toe model, and then probably 3 or 4 years into it, they just went nuts. They're like
That's how
kudos,
you do it.
rough outs, waxy commander.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You
that,
come
that,
out the gate like that,
yeah,
it is either going to go really, really well or it might not. So,
right.
yeah, have to always be careful, and especially when you're doing it yourself on your own with no backing, it's kind of you need to make sure you get it right the first time around. I didn't originally,
Yeah,
but this second time around, I feel like things kind of clicked for me.
absolutely. Yes, I would say so. And so you have your boots built in Spain. Talk to me a little bit about what that was like finding the right workshop that would make your boots. And what was that experience like? Because I know you originally wanted to make them in America, right?
Definitely. Yeah, so this is a not a long-winded story, but originally I had a Kickstarter campaign, and so my whole goal was I wanted to make them here in the United States, and so I actually found a factory that I could work with, and we actually for a year, close to a year and a couple months, actually went through all the prototyping, all of the leathers, all of the pattern making, getting the soles, and just kind of putting everything together. I released 4 original models in the Kickstarter, and I was running with it, and I was basically just learning on the fly as well. And so trying to put everything together, and I've never been the guy who really goes on camera. So, it was a learned experience for me, and trying to get better at that. But I really put myself out there and I did it. And the Kickstarter wasn't successful. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful. And, you know, that was one of those times where I mean, when you kind of put yourself out there, you do it and it doesn't pan out, you know, sometimes you kind of feel like a failure a little bit. So, you know, that's just how it was. But also to couple with that, I haven't really spoke on it, but actually the manufacturer decided not to make the brand at that time when the Kickstarter wasn't successful. I actually thought about quitting for a little while. You know, I actually took some time off, and you know, I thought maybe this isn't for me. I took some time off, and then you know the passion was still there. I went back to it, and I spent literally 3 to 4 months. I contacted every single manufacturer in the United States that I possibly could. I actually hit up brand. I got so desperate, I actually reached out to brands as well. And I would say, I think around 60% either didn't respond or were shut down. 40% said no. And of the 10%, one or two didn't work out per se. I actually hit up Cowboy boot manufacturers to try and see if they could take my last and take my leather and make it happen. But some just didn't work out or some just said no. And then of one was kind of promising, but the design just didn't come out the way I wanted it to be and what I knew the brand needed to be. And then the other one, I couldn't afford the minimum order quantities. It was 500 pairs per style. And when you're by yourself, you know, with the family and a mortgage and all that stuff, that's just not going to happen. I'm not going to set myself up for financial ruin and go down that path. I sat back and I thought, you know, it just didn't, making boots in the United States just didn't pan out for me. I wish it did, but I invested so much initially to try and make it happen, and it just didn't work out for me. So I kind of went back and thought to myself, what do I really want in the brand? How do I want the shoe to look? How do I want this to kind of present itself to people? And so I kind of focused on what are my core tenets in the brand? What is the core construction that I want for the boot? I want to have the durability and freedom to make any changes that I want. I want to be able to use any of my leathers. I want to be able to source any of my own materials. And so that landed me with the factory that I'm currently working with out of Spain. They just really resonated with me. And so I was able to actually, all my materials, whatever I need, I can supply it myself. Any changes to construction, I can make that however I want. And so I had the creative freedom there. And then the lead times were decent. You know, as a smaller brand, of course, you're not gonna get the faster lead times that a lot of the bigger brands have. So that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But the construction has been on point, and that was the biggest thing for me, with the stitching, with the welting, and everything. Everything has just been on point. Everything is nice and clean, and that's the goal that we're trying to go for here. Just making sure everything is clean, because I feel like that's very important for people, especially if you're going to pay a premium price. I feel like I'm mid-market with my pricing, but especially if you're going to pay a decent amount for a pair of boots, I feel like the construction and the leather should be definitely on point. So it's kind of how I got to where I am today with the factory.
Very cool. Because, yeah, I mean, Andrew at Parkhurst, he just switched to a factory in Spain. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but there's probably, I would imagine, a variety out there.
There's a handful in Spain
Okay.
that make a lot of different brands. So it's just everybody goes in with their own lasts, with their own patterns. And I mean, either Vibram or Ridgeway or Dynite soles, those soles are all standard soles unless you're doing a leather sole or, you know, whatever leather sole that you have, some brands use. But yeah, there's a decent amount of factories over there that a lot of different people go through. And a lot of the Spanish brands are over there as well. They have their own factories. So.
Okay, right. That makes sense. Very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, he made the switch. He set out to build an all American made boot, and just, you know, the last 3 years, I don't have to get into what happened there. It really screwed a lot of stuff up. So
It's tough.
yeah, yeah.
It's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's tough. Like even with last, I wanted to make my last in the United States. I believe there was one company. Every other company had shut down. I think there was one company. I'm not sure. I may mispronounce it. I think it's Vine and Young. Even with their last, they design it here, and then they have the last made in China as well. So everything is fully outsourced. So I understand a lot of people love American made boots, but sometimes, you know, for the smaller brands, the
Yeah.
opportunity is just not there. You know, because I actually reached out to brands to see if they could. I'm not going to name them, but I actually reached out to see if I could work with them in some way. And, you know, I got no's across the board. for months on end. So, I have so many no's in my inbox. It's kind of embarrassing, but you're going to get 1,000 no's until you get one yes. And
Yes.
so that's kind of the approach I took. But, it's just almost impossible for me. I wish I could have made it happen, but unfortunately it just didn't pan out for me. So,
Yeah. I mean, and what you're getting at is so true. I mean, in my experience, it's more like 100 failures before your first success. You know what I mean?
definitely.
And it's a matter of just starting small, starting with what you can control, not being overly ambitious. Just, like with me, like it was one piece of equipment at a time. I wasn't breaking the bank, but one design at a time. Just, what can I control? What can I make? It just starts to grow. Like my bags, I started out with an idea. I put it together myself. I learned how to stitch, how to sew. I started learning how to buy leather because I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't know
It's a
how
tough
to.
process.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then right here, I mean, this press was I think $1,700 machine, and then this strap maker was like $1,800. So
It adds up, but it's worth it. It's worth
yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. It's very efficient. I'm able to, it's still a tiny operation. This is just my office/workshop, but it's
It
minuscule.
works.
But to do it right, you just gotta take it one small step at a time. I think that's what you're doing. And are you gonna have failures? Absolutely, along
Definitely.
the way. But like what you said, it's figuring out, no, I still have this ambition. I'm not gonna ignore it. I'm gonna keep pushing for it. I'm gonna find a way. And that's what you did. That's very inspiring. So I was very fascinated with Christian Daniel's journey as well. It's
Definitely.
yeah, it's so cool. And then not to mention, just I've watched so many guys on social media like Ticho Blanco, Ben at Stitch Down, who you've spoken with. It's fascinating to see how like they start with just an interest, and then it grows, it evolves, and then you start doing new things. You start considering maybe starting a business. I'm starting to read more and more success stories of people, and it's just like it's good to have a day job, obviously, but then to branch out and have a side gig. It's like so good for like your, not just your financial well-being, but also your mental well-being. Like it's actually very good to feel productive. You know what I mean? Because
Definitely.
when I was just going to work and coming home and watching TV, I didn't feel like I was meeting my potential. And then when I started looking into building stuff, like I love working with my hands. It's like, wow, I'm actually able to make something and send it to somebody. It's like so fulfilling, like, because I love getting stuff, but I also love giving stuff to people that they can use. I assume it's a similar story with you. Like it's got to be very like fulfilling to see people like get your boots, love them, wear them.
Yeah, no, that's trust me, that's the literally like that's the highlight of my day. It's hard getting people to trust a new brand.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do was, and that's just actually one of the things I should have focused on more was the marketing, getting to know people actually doing these types of things. Because I was so dead focused on putting out the best possible boot that I could and just making sure that it's not going to be perfect, but just making sure that it was close to my vision of perfect as humanly possible. And so I focused so much on that. And now I'm kind of hitting the ground running and doing more, just getting out more and posting more on the brand's social media page. Should have been doing that a while ago, but now that the design and everything is kind of locked in, now I can kind of shift and focus more on getting helping people learn about the brand and kind of growing it that way.
Yeah, get the word out. I mean, when you messaged me just last week, that honestly it was the first time I heard about your brand. I wish, I met you like a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
We could have like had an interview, kind of like, the Christian Daniel thing. It's one of those things that it's so complicated. There's so many moving parts to start your
definitely.
business. There's so many blind spots that you're going to have along the way. And
Thousands. Yeah.
yeah, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all human. So when I heard about your brand and I saw it, I was like, why didn't I know about this sooner? Like
Yeah.
I felt guilty. I'm like, I wish I knew about this brand sooner because I really like the design. And then when I heard that you're based in DC, I'm like, whoa, I could, this is
Yeah.
like,
It's close.
an opportunity. This is super close to me. So yeah, I was really happy when you reached out, because I'm like, this is amazing. I'd love to, you know, interview this guy, get into his head, like what the journey was like, what the design was like. Because I mean, there's so many moving parts, you know, it's not just the social media. There's so many things behind the scenes, the design, picking the leather, understanding if this leather is going to work in this model or not.
Yeah.
Designing the last, picking the hardware, picking the stitching, picking the, like, it's just
A lot of parts.
yeah, it looks simple when you look at the boot. You're just like, oh yeah, there's the boot.
Yeah.
10,000 hours of thought went into this, you know.
100%. 100%. That's one thing that, like, one of the biggest things that, like, I didn't realize was just leather selection and leather price. As you know, leather is, I didn't realize it was that expensive. I'll take, for example, let's say you're going to use some Horween leather. Let's say you get a standard side. It's going to be roughly around $250, I would say, for a standard side of Chrome XL. And that's going to be either 16 to 20 square feet. You can make roughly around 3 to 4 pairs of boots. Each boot's going to take around roughly around 5 square feet. So,
yeah,
you know, you're looking at anywhere from 60 something dollars to close to $100 just for leather for a single pair of boots. So that's something I didn't take into account. But a lot of the bigger, you know, you have economies of scale as your brand grows, and so you're able to get that cost per square footage down. But as a smaller brand, that's something I didn't fully realize until I got that bill. And I was like, you know, all this for leather, but you know, this is what you have to do. So, you know, those lessons kind of come as you grow. So
absolutely. Trust me, I understand. Like, speaking of like getting started and having to ask questions, like I reached out to Derek at Seidel Tanning and I was like, hey, you know, I'm just a small maker. All I need is 5 sides. And he's like, 5 sides? Like, that's such a small order. I don't know if we could do that.
Right.
Okay, how about 10 sides? And he's like, oh, well, what I could do is I could pull off some additional sides from like a larger order from like one of these other boot brands, you know, because they order by the hundreds of sides.
Yeah. Like, I'm not doing that at the moment. So
yeah. And so he hooked me up with 10 sides, and that was like $2,000. And then later I was able to put in an order. I did 20 sides. So I did 10 of this is Oxblood double shot.
Yeah, it's a beautiful leather.
Yeah, I love it. It's so nice for bags too. It's got such a good temper. And then I did 10 of the British tan, and like I'm stocked for the moment. Like I have a good amount of leather. So, but that was like, I want to say like just over $3,000 for the 20 sides. And you know, was that cheap? No, but it was reasonable. Like it stung, but not that bad. You know what I mean? It's definitely better to order in bulk.
100%.
Yeah, because now I order mostly from Maverick when I need a unique leather, and they're great. I love Maverick.
They're great.
Yeah, if you just need one side of something, they're awesome. They have so many.
Great.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, Maverick is so good, and I have probably 10 Maverick stickers all over my workshop.
I just got the Bison from Maverick. I saw it on their site.
Yes,
and I was like, this is an interesting kind of leather. You know, and I didn't have a swatch of it, so I ordered that. And then when I got it, I was like, I think this is going to pair well with some boots. It was very bold, but once you put it on a boot, it just flows. So I'm glad I actually went with that option.
Yes. And you know what's interesting? I ordered this stuff called Cognac Waxed Essex from Maverick, and they weren't exactly sure, because sometimes they get a bunch of sides in and they don't actually know what they are. But this is the Cognac Waxed Essex, and it's unlike anything else that I have. It's not like a Chrome XL or anything like that. But when I saw the tannage on this Bison, and that's why I think this is Horween of some kind, it really reminded me of this in just the way that it's pull up. It's got a very similar tannage. You know, the color
does have some pull up in it. If you were to run your finger along the back end, inside the boot, you'll start to see some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if the camera's capturing it, but I could see it.
Yeah, it's capturing it.
Yeah, beautiful pull up. Same thing. So long story short, I think these are like leather cousins. Obviously, this is a cow, but I think they were dyed the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. They do different dyes, different processes to kind of get it to look that way. So
Yeah, but the smell, like they smell the same, and
oh yeah, yeah.
that's kind of my big indication is like I every leather tannage it smells so different. And as soon as I got these and I smelled them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's just like that Essex stuff. It's absolutely stunning bison. I think you found a staple here. Honestly, I like if I were you, just based on how they sell, I might keep running that one. That's a
Yeah, no, the biggest sellers have been those and the Horween Brown Chrome XL.
okay.
For yeah, at the moment, yeah, those have sold the most. I have the least amount of inventory in the bison leather, but of those sizes have been selling pretty well. So
Very good. Very good. And then how about your other models? I really like these dark brown country calf, the Scotch grain. Phew, those are absolutely stunning. Where did you get that leather from?
so from Dupoy, yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, try to go as far and wide as I could.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so hopefully in the future, I want to really focus on smaller tanneries. That's
Nice.
kind of my goal. I went for the bigger mainstream brands this first go around, but I kind of really want to focus on the smaller ones that have some really cool, unique leathers, because I feel like there's some different types of leathers out there that people haven't always seen, and so I try to do a lot of research to try and find those, and
Yeah.
so I'm hoping in the next iteration next year I can kind of build on that a bit.
Right. Yeah. I've never even heard of the Dupuy Tannery. Yeah. Dupuy Dupuy. I'm going to have to Google that
Yeah,
because,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a big tannery. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones over in Europe. Most of my leather is mainly Horween or Siefstead.
Tannery Dupuy. It looks like it's French.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Pricey too. I'm not gonna lie to you. So
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's just some of the most beautiful Scotch grain I've ever seen. It's perfect looking. They really emboss it really nicely there.
yeah,
Nice. And that's a beautiful, rich chocolate brown color too. I really like the look of that. Got me tempted.
yeah. They do. Yeah, they do a great job. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just trying to expand the leather selections as much as possible. Currently I will have 9 models, but I'm trying to grow that a bit, because as you see on a lot of bigger brands or Instagram, they could go all day because they have 15,000 models and they can take 15,000 different types of style shoots. I have 9, so I have to make that work,
Right.
currently. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the best I can with that, but that's the goal, just to get to an expansive list of different leathers, different lasts, with different soles, maybe some GTMO options in the future. I
Mm.
want to kind of add in some of those Dr. Soul Super Grip soles.
Yeah.
Really am a fan of those. So
Yes.
hopefully I have one model coming in the future that will feature some of those. So
Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh man, I'd love that. And anytime you want me to help get the word out or whatever, just reach out. I'm always happy to help you out because, yeah, like I said, I'm very inspired by your ambition and your drive and your taste. Like you really I'm really impressed by these like core models that you've picked so far. I mean, they're all home runs. You could be one and done with any of those models. Just they're so versatile. And this bison, I mean, I have a few pair in bison and this is one of the most impressive pair of bison boots I have. I mean, as soon as I saw those, I was like, dang. What it reminded me of is my buddy Jimmy at Nerdin with Boots. He's really like sort of captured by the some of the recent Viberg runs. The
yeah, they do a great job. I'm not gonna lie to you. They
Yeah,
do an amazing job.
and lately they've really been just nailing that like classic World War II like aesthetic service boot.
Yes.
And that's what this reminds me of. Like it's elegant and it's classic and you just nailed it. Like it's not crazy. Like I have some pairs that
Right, right. Yeah.
after a while you want to go crazy after a while, like let's see. Here's a
I
good one.
hope they get crazy in the future. Yeah. So no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's out there for sure. Um, yeah, that's definitely out. Is that shell?
No, this is a veg tan. It's a hand marbled, hand painted
Oh, okay.
green veg tan calf, I believe, from Indonesia. I believe Santalum hand marbled this.
It's
themselves.
beautifully done.
It's
Definitely.
nice. Yeah, it's cool, but it's just
It's out there, definitely.
it's wild, it's
Yeah.
whereas this is like something that you could have seen in a picture from, like, I don't know, the 1920s, old
Yeah,
Maya.
definitely. I kind of draw my inspiration from a lot of some of those earlier eras
Yeah.
and trying to just make it as classic as possible. The core models are going to be very, very classic. Um, it's just going to be very straightforward. I kind of that was the whole goal. This is the base, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to constantly build on that with the designs and constantly build on that with the get a little bit crazier in leather options. I'm not going to make a red or purple boot, but
Yeah.
you'll see some different leather choices coming out in the future. And then for those people who want that stuff, I hope to have some MTO options and GTMO options in the future. So.
Oh, that'll be awesome. That'll be a lot of fun. Yes. And please, yeah, reach out anytime you need, anything you have, like a new activity or a new drop coming, just let me know. I'll help get the word out and post my stories or do a video or something, because yeah, the more people know, the better. A lot of my friends started messaging me when I posted these. They're like, I never heard of CASWELL. Those are so nice. I'm like, yeah, look at these things. These are, I mean, absolutely nailed it. I mean, this is just so, like I said, recently I've been more into the crazy, like the insane stuff. Like, this is a pair of Tahuras, Indonesian made.
Yeah, you can tell like the last is very, very bold.
Yeah.
The stitching and construction is actually extremely solid there.
Yes.
You can tell those hand welted.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sole, yeah, that's stacked heel.
Yeah.
I got really flat feet, so I don't know if those work for me, but
Yeah, probably not.
yeah. So, but they look beautiful.
Yeah, they're nice, but are they an everyday boot? No, they're so kind of out there. But I do love them. I think a good solid return to the classics is always a good move. And yeah, I love the 360-degree Goodyear welt, the split.
Yeah, it's clean. The welt's clean. Everything is just the stitching is clean as possible. So
Yes,
really proud of how they came out.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm just blown away. And then I really like your logo in there.
Yes, I made that in Adobe Illustrator about a couple years back. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the branding and trying to make it. I just didn't know where to go with it, and so I was like trying to make a couple different designs, and that one kind of stuck out to me. It has a very classic, elegant kind of feel to it.
Yes.
And so yeah, I just kind of stuck with that one. I thought it looked really well as the design within the boot. So.
Definitely perfectly executed. I love the interior lining on this too. I love the stamp from the factory.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's really cool. Shows the size and the model number and stuff, made in Spain. You did mention possibly a promo code for my viewers. What was it?
Yeah, definitely. So I want to make sure that I appreciate everyone who either tunes into a lot of this stuff. And before I do go, let me see how many more minutes. I got a couple minutes. I actually want to show you just a couple pairs of shoes real quick.
Oh yeah, sure.
One's my brand, the other two are not. But okay. I just want to show you as my appreciation for shoes. So first, I'm going to start off with the boots that are not. So these are Enzo Bonifay. So these are hand welted. I actually went to Sweden to Skogsbolaget to have these. I got these made to measure. So they come with a lasted shoe tree. Extremely beautiful. You actually get your name in them, and I'm promoting like another brand, but I don't care because these are beautiful. Got these made a couple years back when I was very, very heavy into trying to build out my collection, but absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And as you can see, I'm an Enzo Bonifay and Voss fan, so a lot of my shoes that I kept are from there. And this is a hatch grain shell cordovan boot that I actually got from Lorenzo over at Solgarb, but this was in a group made to order. This comes on the Ridgeway sole, but this is actually, it's horrible to say, but this is actually my favorite pair of boots. So just wanted to show you that. The hatch grain is really, really pronounced. It has a lot of good texture to it. It's really beautiful. And they've aged well over the years.
Definitely. And it looks very similar to your jumper boot. So if anybody's in the market for something like that your jumper boot is a very close rendition of that,
Yeah, definitely. And this is my actually favorite pair. So I've had these for a while. So this is one of my samples, but this is
Oh,
actually the kudu leather.
oh,
So I love kudu because it always has that rich texture to it. And so it's gonna have scratches. It's gonna have a lot of the different texture of the antelope. So it's something that's, yeah, kudu's beautiful. It's a beautiful leather. You
yeah.
can tell that texture. You can tell it's, it's something that actually, I don't know, just comes to life for me.
Mhm.
So that's actually my favorite model, and that's going to be available very soon. And I'll just note this. So actually had a conversation with the manufacturer, and so what's going to happen is all of my remaining models, I'm going to get half of them shipped out on Friday and the other half shipped out next Tuesday. So, but I'm going to get them fairly quickly. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open everything up on Friday. Just got to take the remaining pictures from my oiled shoulder. So I'm going to open everything up on Friday, but I will have all those in the very near future. Just
Mhm.
some minor finishing that needs to be done,
Yeah.
and we should be good to go. And then as far as the code, I do. So it's going to be Arrow 15. So that's actually going to be 15% off your pair of boots. And so want to provide that to kind of people because I know there's been some delays with some of the models. So it's going to apply to all of the models across the board. And I'm going to run that until Christmas time. So it's only
Okay.
going to be available for a short period of time. I'll also provide that in my newsletter as well. So just want to make sure that have people subscribe because
Yeah.
that's where I provide all my updates. I have limited sizing, specifically in the oiled shoulder. There's very limited sizing. So I just want to make sure that, people kind of jump on that because
Yeah.
the kudu and the waxy commander, I've gotten like 50,000 emails about that. And so, just want to make sure that people know, like, it's really a first come, first serve. That's just kind of how it will go. But it's AERO 15. It's going to be 15% off. The code is actually live now. So if you see something there that you like, you can go ahead and use that. So, yeah.
All right. Awesome. That is incredible. Thank you so much. Nothing makes me feel more humbled than a promo code named after my named after my Instagram. So thank you. I love that.
Yeah, no, trust me. I appreciate all the support, man. The conversations have been something
Yeah.
I've definitely valued and enjoyed. Just
Do.
a short period of time that we've kind of known each other. And so, I appreciate your platform. I love your more than just, focusing on my brand. I love when people have a wide variety
Yeah.
of different brands from different makers and you can kind of see their passion kind of shown through in the boots that they produce. And
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that with my brand, I can kind of show that as well. And so I appreciate you taking the time and taking the effort to kind of just hear my story and hear about, where I want to take the brand and how it's grown.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I love your story. As soon as I met you, I'm like, I clicked with you immediately. Love your personality, your drive, your design, everything about it. So 100%, man, I'm on board. It's my honor to, partake in the journey and help get the word out because I really love small batch makers. I love small brands. That's always the sweet spot. I think it's so cool because ultimately, if you have that drive, any of us could really start and produce something very unique. And I'm just very inspired by your story. And thanks again for the promo code. I'll leave that in the description below. So anybody
Definitely.
who's interested, head over. Holidays are coming up. It's a great time to hop on a pair of Kevin's CASWELL boots. So
Definitely.
all right, brother. Well, I know you got to get going, so we could shut it down. But again, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been an honor, a privilege, and I really enjoyed the talk. So
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
absolutely, you take
All
care
right.
and keep in touch. I'll be talking to you soon.
You too. Definitely.